Top 3 most controversial boxing fights in 2021. Starting with Jermall Charlo getting a draw versus Brian Carlos Castano. A lot of people watched this fight and said that Brian Castano displayed a great performance, one that much surpassed Charlo's. He did much better and won at least 8 of the 12 out of the 12 rounds. While Charlo did hurt Castano at some points, like in rounds 2 and 10, Castano was scoring more punches and was more aggressive throughout the fight, and Jermall was not taking advantage of his positions. The 2 times he hurt Castano, he was not able to go for the kill, and he needed those knockdowns, since he wasn't winning by points anyway. Jermall was booed very loudly even by his own fans after the decision was given as draw. They called the worst scored fight in 2021. The booing of the fans continued even throughout Jermall's interview. What's worse was Jermall thought that he won the fight and most of the rounds. For me, that was the most controversial fight of 2021. Anyways, they have a rematch coming soon on February 26th for the unified undisputed junior middleweight titles. Now let's move to my second most controversial boxing fight in 2021, which is Gervonta Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz. Tank Davis supposedly won the fight by unanimous decision. However, if you watch this fight, you can clearly see that Isaac Cruz was the huge aggressor, charging Davis most of the fight. Isaac, in many people's eyes, won the fight. He came to a stadium that loved Tank, and when the fight ended, more than half the stadium thought that Isaac Cruz either won the fight or it had to end with a draw. Proof that this fight should have been a draw or a win for Cruz was that Gervonta Davis injured his right hand in the 5th round and didn't use it for most of the fight, so he absorbed much more punches. Now I know it's unfair that Cruz had this advantage, so we should see a fight where Tank doesn't have an injury. I agree. But Cruz deserved to win that fight or at least get a draw. And when asked for a rematch by the interviewer, Tank said no way will he rematch. For me, this is uncalled for, but in any case, a new lightweight star was born, Isaac the Pitbull Cruz. This guy is a machine and will cause lots of problems for the elites moving forward. I still think that this fight should have been scored a draw at the least, and for those of you who haven't watched the fight and like Gervonta, please do so with unbiased eyes. Most people like Tank, but if you watch this fight fairly, I think at the least you would score this a draw, you would score the fight a draw, or even that Cruz won by decision. Now we are done with the second most controversial boxing fight in 2021. Let's move to the third most controversial fight in 2021. Here we have Jose Benavidez Jr., the brother of the knockout king David Benavidez. Jose Benavidez is an elite boxer whose only loss was to Terence Crawford. However, he stopped boxing for 3 years and now finally came back. Crawford once stated that one of his hardest fights was with Jose Benavidez, just to put things in perspective. But when he came back and fought in his comeback match against Francisco Manuel Torres, he found huge problems. While Jose was the aggressor, Torres kept dodging him and masterfully scoring punches all night against Jose. Jose did some nice combinations, but for the most part, Francisco kept scoring points every round. He scored much more punches and kept the distance against Jose for the full 10 rounds perfectly, and in the end, what did the judges do? They scored the fight a majority draw because Jose Benavidez was fighting in his backyard in Phoenix, Arizona. This fight was booed as well, and most of the fans believe that Torres beat Jose. These fans came for the Benavidez brothers fights, and imagine that they ended up saying that Jose Benavidez deserved to lose by decision. What's worse, as usual, is that Jose Benavidez believed that he won most of the rounds and that Torres was just running away the whole fight. If Torres was actually running away, then he was doing so while scoring tons of punches, making him win the fight. So these are my top 3 most controversial boxing fights in 2021. The worst decisions in 2021. What do you think of my top 3 most controversial boxing fights? Please tell me down below which fights you think are the most controversial fights in 2021. If you found this video helpful, please box the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Cheers!
Camina, manos para arriba.